Could be a reason why everybody else is blowing their engines, but I don't know. When you're doing weight savings, it's really hard to justify every little piece that you do. Different brand arms that were bending.
Testing out this one-piece carbon fiber drive shaft.
But the factory hood is the lightest hood we weighed.
That's the secret.
Yeah, that is the secret.
S2000 versus FRS. Today we have Chris McDonald, Sunbo, and the dog Camber running around. Well, son, did you guys dyno this car?
Yeah. Delicious Tuning did our E85 Flex Fuel kit and the E85 Tune.
Okay.
And it dynoed at 235 horsepower, 192 torque, more than stock. And with just the 91 tune, it was 225, 224, somewhere around like 180 torque.
Do you guys know the weight as well?
Yeah, the weight just under 2,700 pounds. I think it's around like 2,650 maybe, but under 27. So it's around 2,550. We did a lot to lighten up the front as much as possible. You don't see much of it. There's like brackets and stuff that are just really heavy in this area, and I think what it was made for was to cover the high pressure fuel pump so that it doesn't make that much noise. So we took all of that out.
Okay.
And most of it just kind of hangs out by itself without needing anything to tie down like a harness or anything like that.
Okay.
Covers, excess bolts. There's 2 covers that go here. There is a lot of brackets for, I think, when it's like assembly at the plant. Makes it easier for them to put the engine in or locate the engine. All that's gone. There's like a cover that goes over here that blocks off all of the fuel injectors to make it quieter. That's all gone.
Okay.
The windshield washer tank has been gone. We did the Perrin aluminum pulleys. So we have, let's see, 3 of them. Yeah. I think it saved like a pound. Yeah. And, just miscellaneous things that don't need to be there completely because we got like 2 plastic clips, 2 bolts on each end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys kept the AC, right?
Yeah, we still have AC.
Okay.
I looked it up. The older generations, when they took off their AC, they weighed it. I think it was like 15 pounds. You have to add back a pulley here. Otherwise, the rest of the belt routing
it's all one belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, if you took it out, you'd have to add some weight back into it. 14 pounds. So you would save. It would be great to take off every pound you can off the front. This is still a street car, so we're still able to drive it like in the summer.
Yeah. We see AccuSump here. I know you guys have a lot of knowledge behind this. So for the viewers, tell us what you found through having AccuSump.
So we have our 2 oil pressure sensors logging into our AIM Solo DL, and these 2 right here.
Okay.
So one is right before the oil filter.
It's a Honda oil filter.
This is from the S2000, so we have a bunch of these. The Honda filter has 8 feed holes, while the Subaru Toyota filter has 5. A little bit larger, but I think overall less volume going through it. Could be a reason why everybody else is blowing their engines, but I don't know.
So that's the secret.
Yeah, that's the secret there, guys. High volume oil filter. Made for an S2000.
Is this for the cooler mainly, or is that?
So this lower piece right here is the cooler from Color Fittings.
Okay.
This piece is just the adapter that we're using to put our oil pressure sensor in.
Gotcha.
And then we removed the factory oil cooler. So there's a water to air heat exchanger. Wait, water to air? No, oil to water.
Yeah.
Oil to water. So that's gone. The coolant routing for all of that has gone down here too. So that goes all the way down to the water pump.
Gotcha.
Oh
yeah, I think we got carried away, but you got the pressure sensor here.
Yeah. So we have 2 sensors, right? So we have one sensor that goes before the oil filter. So that's usually right after the oil pump. So we're logging right after oil pump. And then here is after the oil cooler, after the oil filter. So we can see a difference, right? And this is a pressure switch from Canton for the AccuSump, and it's electronically controlled. So I have a switch inside the car that I turn on, and that supplies 12 volt here, and then this sensor will ground on the other side when it sees less than 35 psi.
Okay.
Which is more than Canton recommends to use, because they're saying, hey, your valve should open at below your idle. But our below idle is like 15 psi. And people are worried about it going under 30 psi. Right now, it's not doing much because it's not opening. We're not going below 35 psi. In our logs with the Solo, it's not showing that the AccuSump is doing much for us right now.
Really?
There's only one corner that it could be opening, which is on-ramp. It's such a short amount of time that it's dip and then goes back up.
Okay. So why is that such a thing?
But, you know, we have about a 1 liter overfill.
Oh, yeah.
And with the AccuSump, the oil cooler, this is about a 8 to 9 liter system. So there's, you know, extra oil in the lines and the cooler in there, plus the overfill.
Okay. If you guys are tracking, definitely overfill a little bit of oil.
And right now we're using the A&J oil, 5W40.
Okay. What about temperature? Are you seeing pretty stable oil and water temperature?
We just got this oil cooler installed for our last track day when we did the 53, and it was pretty stable. We haven't changed the oil since we did GTA. This is the same oil that has a peak of 290 degrees on it. I feel like if it would blow up, it would have done so then. I can probably confidently tell most people, hey, you don't need an oil cooler. But as long as you have a good oil, like a 540, or even if you can find a 040, you can put that in there and just change it more often, unless you're going to track during really, really hot summer days, which I wouldn't recommend for anybody. But yeah, more on the lightweight stuff is anti-gravity battery. This one has a restart button on it, so when we let it sit and the trunk was open, so the battery drained, and it stops it from draining by shutting off, and then you just go to press this button and you can start the car.
I think another problem that people talk about with these cars is transmissions, right?
We haven't logged any transmission temps. We have the capabilities to do so. We have 2 more in here, as well as we can get another one of these and then add another 4 channels. In that regard, we just do more fluid changes, but it definitely doesn't hurt other than your wallet.
Good oil is the cheapest insurance.
Yeah, we're using a Redline MT90 for the transmission, Motul 90 PA for the differential.
You put on the vent on it recently, right?
The vent is to help with cooling and aero. The thought process is air coming in here. If you don't have a vented hood, will try to work its way down, and you want to reduce the amount of lift you get in front, so you move the cooling air over the car instead of under. And it looks cool, but the factory hood is the lightest hood we weighed so far. And with cutting out the center metal part and adding the fiberglass piece on there, the fiberglass will weigh less than the metal that we took out, so it'll probably weigh less than a factory hood now.
So this is lighter than like aftermarket hood?
Well,
Yeah, lighter than the aftermarket carbon.
I mean, in general, aluminum. If you have aluminum,
Oh, this is aluminum.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's only when you go dry carbon that you really get the weight savings.
So I think Formula S, if there's enough interest, they're gonna actually make the hood. Follow them on Instagram and bug them about it. Looks really nice. I like it. Hi, Camber. Are you negative or positive? He's negative. Go ahead, raise the car for us to see underneath.
So this is the apex header, and they provide a tape-on heat barrier for the oil pan. And the reason for that is the factory one has a heat shield on it, but with the aftermarket stuff, it'll just be open like this, and you just need to protect your oil a little bit. And there's also the the apex overpipe here to the apex front pipe.
Okay.
Yeah. The naming of all these pipes are kind of weird, and then it starts to the cat back.
Gotcha.
Because usually it has a cat in here as well, but we don't have that. We have a straight pipe in place of the high flow cat that usually comes with these.
Yeah.
And this is the titanium exhaust that we got from Apex as well.
Yeah.
Really lightweight. Yeah, 11 or so pounds. They also have a stainless steel version that is, I think, 16 or 17 pounds. So it's not too far off if you don't want to spend like the extra money to get the titanium.
No.
Because it is like 4 pounds difference. We're trying to get off as much as possible. So we have a Grady baffle.
Okay.
And you install it by dropping this pan. You gotta drop a header or two. Installed with one bolt.
Okay.
The factory pickup tube bolt.
Okay.
So it's really easy to install.
No welding.
No welding.
Okay.
No parts to fall off.
And we've checked. We dropped the oil pan like 3 times. So, the accumulation of the RTV was only initially. So after the initial cleaning of the pickup tube, 2 other times we dropped the oil pan, there's virtually nothing in the pickup tube. So if that's a concern for people, you literally do it once and it's good enough. Nice. So currently we're testing out this one-piece carbon fiber drive shaft. This roughly saves about half the weight to see how the chassis responds and how it works. But so far so good with this piece.
Okay.
No crazy vibrations. It's just pretty solid.
We've even had a little bit of contact on our exhaust. It was a little bit too close, and it even scored it pretty much all around. If it doesn't break after this, then I'm pretty sure it's solid.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice unit.
Okay. Is the stock steel 2-piece?
It is 2-piece. So this is a one-piece design. Yeah, but it saves about half the weight.
That's
I think
nice.
a little bit over halfway.
Okay.
10 pounds instead of like 19 or 20.
Yeah, it was like 22 pounds or something.
Assuming that's gonna be available through you guys, right?
Yeah.
All this stuff is, we have to order it. It's all custom, so
Right.
made to order, get the deal, so
Okay.
expect a weight.
Yeah, it's also when you're doing weight savings, it's really hard to justify every little piece that you do until you add it all up, and then it's like, oh, it's 200 pounds.
Right.
That's like not having a driver, and you won't feel the benefits until you get to that point. So it is really expensive per dollar, but it also helps with longevity and consumable wear rates. So you use less brakes, you'll use less tire, less fuel, or maybe more fuel you keep going. But yeah, it just helps the car overall.
Let's show some of the chassis parts.
Okay.
See, really nice brake on here.
Yeah, so we just upgraded to the Brembo Pista FF6, and we went with the slotted rotor Type 5 and RE10 pads. So more of an endurance pad.
Is that Brembo pad? RE10?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brembo pad.
Okay. So
More
that's
of
a entire kit, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it comes with a different set of pads and rotor, but we upgraded to this rotor and this pad, hoping to make it last almost forever.
Yeah.
Because our last setup also lasted a long time. So not expecting to replace any brake components for a long time with this
Right.
setup.
Especially with the endurance pad. It should
Yeah,
last you a
so
while.
you're not having to spend a lot of money on consumables after you do this upgrade. I forgot how many pounds lighter than a factory sliding piston is, but it is lighter, a lot lighter.
Is this a 13-inch?
355 millimeter diameter, and I think 32 mil thick.
Okay. Yeah, I see HKS.
Yeah, so this is the HKS Hypermax R coilover, and this is the Cusco lower control arm.
Okay.
And we got this to extend our track width, so we max out our ball joint here.
Okay.
And we're going to be removing the 10 to 15 mil wheel spacer that we had previously, and it also helps bring out the camber adjuster up there, so we have a lot more camber to go in if we wanted to. The problem we're having with the 8.6 is that we're contacting the frame somewhere here. We're rubbing.
Oh, yeah, I see it, yeah.
This is only for full lock.
Okay.
But when we're like at Riverside, on the opposite side of the car, we're like touching the strut, like this thing right here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we either need to be at a higher ride height for this coilover, or we need to uprate our springs a little bit to be at the same ride height and not have it touch the chassis.
Okay.
And that'll pull the steering wheel. So if a lot of 8.6 guys are out there with really low ride height, they feel a little tug on their steering wheel when they're going through like high G's
Yeah.
or bumpy corners. You're either too low or too soft of a spring rate.
What kind of spring rates are you running now?
So this is just out of the box Hypermax Arc, 9K front, 10K rear. It's just whatever you can get out of the box.
Because that's what the consumer is going to get.
Right.
So in order for us to give feedback or even be willing to sell a product, we need to know it actually works, because there's no use selling something that doesn't work, and they're not going to be happy, and we're not going to be happy when they come back and they're like, hey, this thing sucks.
Do you guys have a spring rate in mind for when you upgrade to JRZ?
I'm gonna do 10K, 10K.
Okay.
I don't want it too stiff to where it's very uncomfortable
Right.
and also not compliant. I do like to take curbing
Yeah.
on track.
Especially button willow.
Yeah, it helps with reducing the amount of G load, so you don't have to use as much tire.
Right.
If you're too stiff, then you can start upsetting the car.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to set it up for all-around car, because you should be able to take a car that is set up for button wheel to most tracks and be within I don't know, like 10% of what it could
Potential.
feel like, yeah.
Yeah.
And not have it like, oh, I just need to go completely the opposite direction.
Right.
Most people aren't gonna have that budget. Even we don't want to have to use that kind of budget, to set up this car.
What about sway bar?
Factory state sway bars.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, the end link is from the HKS kit. We'll eventually upgrade that as we develop with the coilovers.
Right. After the new coilover.
Yeah, I feel like this is plenty, and there's really not much to gain from doing a sway bar with the setup we had prior. But we'll see once we get the JRZs in. Maybe at like a track like Coda or Big Willow with a really long sweeping turns, you could see a big benefit. But Riverside right now, Button Willow, this is
Plenty.
plenty.
Okay.
I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to touch the speeds that we're at now with less tire and a sway bar.
So I think you had a really good point. You said that's the last thing you touch. Because generally, a lot of people change out the sway bar first, right? Because it's easy, cheaper.
Yeah.
So what's your opinion on that?
Focus on getting some like a good set of coilovers. I can't stress that enough. Is you get something that works and then you try to max it out. You could drop a lot of money on coilovers, or worse, you could do cheap coilovers and then have to do it again and again and again. Where you're much better off finding something that works that you're comfortable with, jumping into that, and then just riding it out as long as possible. For every person, it's different. Coilovers is one of those horrible things where if somebody will ask online, be like, hey, what coilover should I get? Everybody that knows is just like, well, what are you going to use it for? So you have to be real with yourself. If you're only going to go 2 track days a year, you probably don't need anything too crazy. You go with a nice street coilover like a Hypermax S and still easily be a sub 2.
It's surprising how not modified this car is. I mean, even I think before when you first did sub 2, it was fairly like stock, right?
Yeah, it only had the coilovers and brake pads and wheels and tires.
Yeah.
It had a factory seat in there.
And the door stabilizers.
Door stabilizer, door stabilizer, and can't forget the side markers.
Yeah.
It's more aerodynamic, right?
Yeah, and it looks cool.
Yeah.
Get rid of your amber USDM side markers. But yeah, we're all now just getting rid of flex and stuff with the factory bushings. A little bit more adjustability. This weighs a little bit more than the factory bushing or factory arm. Having the lower arm extended out will give us a better track, a lot better handling characteristics instead of having a wheel spacer.
For sure.
Oh, we also have a Toda.
Yeah, Toda
Clutch.
Yeah, Toda OG Sama clutch.
Toda OG Sama clutch.
Okay.
Which is like an old man clutch.
It's just old man clutch,
So it like pretty much you can barely tell it's aftermarket. It's lighter weight and it functions like a stock. So it's a really good setup for somebody that is not looking for something too crazy, but is still going to give you a little bit more performance. So yeah, when we got the car originally, the car is so tame, so PG when it's on. It's very quiet. I didn't want to run a super loud exhaust at first, so I wanted to transfer a little bit more engine vibration into the car, and so we tried out the engine mounts, and yeah, it worked out really good. The Cusco, yeah.
Does that come with the transmission mount as well, or?
I think it's a separate.
No, it is
Okay.
separate with Cusco.
But yeah, we have a Cusco
Yeah.
one in there too.
Okay.
So that little blue
Yeah.
thing right there.
Yeah.
Cusco Blue.
So that just takes up this little gap that the factory engine mount has. But this is the factory engine mount part right here.
Okay.
So they're still compliant, but a little bit more stiff now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty noticeable. And then we also have the Japanese market short shifter. Well, it's layout, yeah, TRD GR. It's for the new one.
Yeah.
The US part number doesn't work. If, one from the old chassis doesn't work on the new chassis. It's a completely different design. So,
Oh, okay.
so yeah. So we put that in. Definitely made a difference. Made it more enjoyable to drive. Just a little bit shorter, but not too notchy, not too tight. Just right.
Is that entire bracing from the kit?
No, this is the factory bracing.
Okay.
The gear,
The rod.
pretty much it's a lever that
Okay.
got swapped out.
Gotcha.
And, yeah, through its length and everything.
We
It's
usually have these on here too.
So that still fits the stock OEM part.
Yeah, so this is OEM from a Porsche.
Oh, is it really? That's cool.
Yeah.
I gotta get one of these.
So we have this is a brake duct from a GT3, and you can kind of position it wherever you need it to be, and it'll help guide air into the brake rotor and help cool it down. Very cheap to do. If you have the factory one, you can either drill holes in this thing
Yeah.
and bolt it to your arm, or you can just zip tie it a bunch, and it'll stay on.
Very neat.
But I prefer to drill the holes and bolt it
Yeah.
down, so it can't fly off. But if it does fly off, it's very cheap to replace. We're also playing with the idea of having the new GT3 RS. They have like little plastic guides.
Oh yeah, underneath,
So,
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we might get some of those, play with that, see how it works. The Evo 10 also has the same kind of guides that go right here to help pull the air out from underneath the car.
Actually, that's one thing we missed is a splitter. This is a custom one, right?
Yeah, so this is the Aluminite splitter that I built here.
Okay.
This is, you can see the scrapes here, and that was from when my cables failed on the first lap at testing at SDC before GTA.
Yeah.
And I ended up reinforcing it with one center, the solid aluminum flat bar right there, and then there's a solid aluminum flat bars on the side holding that there, and it's on the rear is mounted to the factory tow hooks. Right there.
Nice.
Yeah, this doesn't look nice because I did this all at the track in the garage. Also going to be making one out of carbon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that'll be a little bit more expensive option, but a nicer option.
Right,
It's lighter, stronger. Obviously, if you go off or if you drag the splitter, you're gonna have to get it repaired. But we're hoping that the splitter itself won't be too expensive. The brackets shouldn't be that expensive. So we have the Cusco upper arms here.
Okay.
Not so much for the adjustability, but these are actually lighter than the factory arms.
Okay.
I think we save about 4 pounds each side for the Cusco arm.
Yeah, about 4 pounds.
4 pounds each side. Get to adjust a little bit because we do rub a tiny bit on the rear with the 265s.
On the outer fender?
Yeah, on the outer fender. So we can move this in just a tad.
Gotcha.
We don't want to use it too much because then you'll start reducing your track width. And we have still the factory toe arm, and we have the Veris lower camber arm. We had a previous set of different brand arms that were bending last year. We went through like 3 sets of them. Pretty much ruins every track day that they bend on because I would get about negative 0.2 to 0.4 degrees of toe out. So that makes for a very
Unstable, right?
unstable, unstable. Not very fun when you're trying to grip up the rear. But our differential is out right now on the table. we're putting OS Geiken in there.
Okay.
Getting to the point of slipping the inside tire because we're lifting that corner up, and it's turning the factory torsion LSD into basically open diff when that happens. So we're not accelerating when I want to. So adding the LSD in there will keep the outside wheel spinning on acceleration even when this is up in the air.
Is the diff same as the previous model?
Yeah, it looks the same.
Okay.
Everything is pretty much the same. I don't see much of a difference other than what they said about the sway bar mount, because everything seems to be the same.
Like entire suspension?
Yeah.
Really? So what do you think this car is so much better than the older generation?
The chassis itself is a little bit stiffer. Power,
Yeah.
you know, 2.4. Torque is good. It feels like it'll, you know, accelerate versus the first gen where it's you put your foot down and you're just sitting there like twiddling your thumbs and we're still not going anywhere. That's the feeling when I drive the first gen. But this car out of the box will go faster than those cars.
Yeah.
So there's really no solid comparison between first and second gen. It's just if you're gonna track it, just get this. This just goes in somewhere here, there. So that goes in there,
Okay.
and then this will actually go like that, and then a couple bolts in. It's kind of like a diffuser.
Yeah.
We have the ARP studs, the standard length ones in the rear, because we're not running a spacer in the rear, and we just wanted something stronger than the Subaru studs.
Yeah.
Those are known to strip out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So get it done before you have to get it done. Then, because you don't want to be at the track and then you go to like retorque your wheels and it just strip or like worse, it gets welded on there.
Oh.
And then when you go to take it off.
What wing is this, son?
So this is the ASM dry carbon wing that you can get when you buy the ASM trunk combo for the S2000. You can't buy this wing just by itself. You need to buy it with the trunk.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it actually came with dry carbon wing stands.
Yeah.
But we can't use that on the 86. So we made aluminum ones.
Okay.
These plates, base mounts are steel that I just kind of made. I had Richard at B-Side Fabrication cut up some flat pieces for me.
Yeah.
And then I just
Banged it up.
banged it up and bent it until it's the curvature of the trunk.
Yeah.
The other thing I didn't like about most other wing options was you had to drill a lot
Yeah.
and cut a lot out of the lower part of the trunk.
Yeah.
The wing solution that I made is bolts straight to these holes that were made for the plastic clips,
Okay.
and you can't see it, but it goes through the white plastic piece, and then it's welded under here, and then
Okay.
bolts to the inside of the skeleton.
Okay.
So the only cuts you have to make are really easy ones for this wing, which is on the plastic, so it's cuts really easy.
Okay.
And there's no VIN number on here. So if you needed to get another one because you're putting your car back to stock or whatever, you just swap it out. No holes in your trunk.
Yeah.
Factory VIN number on there.
Inside is all stripped.
Inside is all stripped out. Yeah, we even took off the reverse lights,
Okay.
harnesses, and sensors back here for the blind spot metering or whatever. That's all gone. Yeah. Just everything that's related to things that we don't need is gone. I'm not quite sure what this box is. I think it might be for the radio, but I don't know what it is. So I'm leaving it in there. We're gonna move to the interior.
Yeah.
So this is probably the piece that people will see first is the Recaro RMS carbon version. So it's a little bit lighter than the FRP one, a lot stiffer. This is also mounted on some PCI seat rail and bracket.
Okay.
Actually, seat mount and bracket. There's no rail. It's welded one piece, more chassis mounted than the wing. And then I had Richard at B-Side Fab also make this harness bar for me at my perfect height.
Okay.
And it also acts as a bit of a chassis bracing,
Yeah.
more so than most roll bars would be.
Right.
Because most roll bars will be bolted or welded to the bottom,
Right.
and nothing on top would touch.
Exactly.
So this is right in the middle. This acts as another, like if you had the dash out, you see a bar
Yeah.
similar
Right.
across the dash. So this would be a middle point between the rear deck and the dash.
Are you guys planning on doing a full cage?
Not a full cage, maybe a roll bar. If I do a roll bar, we'll probably still keep this harness bar, and then the roll bar will just be a hoop, a diagonal, I guess.
What about the steering wheel?
This is a Momo. I can't remember. This came out on my S2000 when it caught fire.
Monte Carlo?
It might be Monte Carlo. I'm not sure, but it still has like little bits of like melted plastic on it
Oh man.
from when my car caught fire. This is a fog drive control relocation kit. So all the factory controls are on here, and everything works now.
Oh.
And I think it's on the Works Bell short hub.
Okay.
But the nice thing about this car is it has a telescoping wheel, so you don't have to do a lot of modifications to get the wheel perfectly to the driver. This is all our aim data hub that goes to the Solo that's usually here. Not too far from a factory car in here. Stock shift knob, stock infotainment. We have a zoom mirror just for the cool looks. For GTA, our rule set was everything B pillar forward had to be here.
Right.
So there was a seat here, but I took that out to do the 53. If we were building for GTA, the seat would be here.
Back in. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's about, I think, 32 pounds.
I think that sums up the car. Chris, very tricky question. I'm gonna ask you because I already know Sun's answer. S2000 versus FRS.
86 chassis is a very good chassis. I like it a lot. But if they were side by side, my heart always goes to an S2000. It was my dream car growing up. Nothing really feels like an S2000. You drive one, that tranny just spoils you. So nothing ever drives the same. Even those Porsches, they don't drive the same like an S2000 tranny. So I would say S2000's 86 for me is something I could use though. I mean, you have a clean S2000. The roads are pretty crazy out there, so anything can happen at any time, and finding parts for it is very difficult. So the 86 for me would suffice as more of like a daily driven car that could go to the track, not have to worry about making a mistake, being able to find parts to put it back together if something were to happen. That's pretty much how I look at the 86.
Okay.
Fun, competitive, but my S2000 would definitely be a weekend car, but my first choice.
Let's say someone watched this entire video, and this is ending. If they come in here and they said they watched YouTube and came to you because of it, could you provide them any kind of discount or help?
I mean, we might be able to work out some deal. We would be able to help out a little bit, but probably be more on labor side, not part side.
All right.
So.
But any of you guys are watching the GR86, come out to Formula S, get proper help. They know their stuff. They test their stuff. Check them out. Thank you so much for your time. Any last thing you guys want to say?
The GR86 is a really good car. BRZ, don't be afraid of it. It's not that scary. Just drive it. 1 liter overfill in your oil.
That's the secret.
Yeah, that is the secret.
All right. Thank you guys.